Well, good morning. It is Monday morning and the start of week 30 of the challenge. Can't believe it's week 30. Feels like a year, but yeah, tough getting up this morning. Pretty tired, busy weekend, but job to do, and it's time to get into the daily market analysis and review what happened what happened on Friday, and what could potentially happen this week and what opportunities are setting up. But before I do that, it's time for a bit of breakfast. I am heading off to the gym this morning and then to jiu-jitsu. I had a week off exercise last week, and from a sort of mental focus perspective, that doesn't help. Exercise is very important, and I've not done any, mainly because of the car accident that I had. Banged my head quite hard, bad headaches and whatnot. So yeah, just took it a bit easier last week, but back into the game again this week. When the dishwasher doesn't work at night, you have to resort to a kid spoon to eat your porridge. So it's about 7:20 on Monday morning, and Australian dollar, Japanese yen has started to revert back in the direction of my trade, which is good. It is Martin Luther King Day in the US, so it's a bank holiday, so it's probably going to be quiet in terms of the pairs, but that's fine. And just while I was I'm all ready and dressed now. Just while I was having a shower, I had a bit of a thought for the day that I thought I'd share, and it's about discipline. I mentioned before that last week didn't go to the gym, kind of lost my physical discipline, didn't do jiu-jitsu, and today I'm going to do both, and that's going to be quite tough with a week off. And maybe I don't really feel like it, maybe I don't really think I've got the energy to do it, but I'm just going to get on and do it. And discipline, I think, is really about two things. It's about attention to detail, and it's about doing things at the right time. And what I mean by the right time is the time you said you were going to do them, so the time you planned to do them, not when you feel like doing them, but at the time you said. So today really is about me getting my discipline back on track. Discipline in trading has been good, but my discipline elsewhere has not been so good, and there's reasons for that, the car crash that I had and whatnot, but hey, they're just excuses. So today is about getting discipline back on track. So I know it's going to be a tough day. I'm going to be leaving the house at I've got to finish the market analysis. I'll be leaving the house at around about 9:30, heading to the gym, doing an hour's gym session, heading across to jiu-jitsu, doing 2 hours there, coming back, checking in with the market and doing one or two other things. And then if all goes well tonight, my eldest, who was 8 yesterday, I'll be taking him to his first jiu-jitsu session, but that's not quite clarified as yet. So I'm going to get back into the market analysis. I've got the commodity synthetics to do, and then yeah, probably not a lot to do in terms of the trading, given the fact that it's a bank holiday in the US, but I'll be watching patiently and waiting to see what happens. So I've just entered a short position on Euro US dollar, Euro. Basically, this is a trend signal. The 50 simple moving average has been crossed by the 10 exponential moving average, and we are under the daily trend line, the yellow line, and also below the 200 simple moving average. This is on the 240 chart. Initial target is just above the even handle, which is the 1.10000. Always get confused with the zeros, but the 1.1 handle. And I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to get there. Already the order flow is in the direction of my trade, so things are looking quite positive. If I jump out to the daily chart on this pair, you can see that the close on Friday was below the 50 simple moving average. And on the weekly chart, there was a test last week of the 50 simple moving average, closed below, and we're now trading below the 50 simple moving average, which is sloping down. Which also corresponds to the top of the weekly trend line, which is the turquoise line. So all in all, this looks to be a high probability trade. So the Euro USD short is exactly the kind of trade I'm looking for when there's confluence between the weekly, the daily and the 240 charts. So I'm short. We'll see where we end up, but feeling pretty confident in that trade. All my signals are pointing south. The carry trade signal is south. The IG sentiment signal is south. So I'm south. We'll see where we end up. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. What I've done is roll my stop to entry. This pair is consolidating. It's not broken to new highs as yet. My stop, the price action, I got 50% towards my targets. So what I call evolving reward to risk looks like a good opportunity to roll my stop, my trailing stop to entry. And that trailing stop now sits just below the 50 simple moving average and 200 simple moving average on the charts. So let's have a quick look at that now. So here we are, Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Failed to make a new high as yet. The XY bullish candle now looks to be counteracted by the YX bearish candle, if that closes at 10 o'clock as a YX candle. So what I've done is I've rolled my stop just below the 250 simple moving averages. Yeah, it's kind of hidden under there, hidden under the daily trend line. So this is now a risk-free trade aside from the broker fees. We'll see whether we can get to that target a little bit later on today or at least this week. So with all that said, it is time to go and distract myself doing something else. I said earlier today that I would be going to the gym. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm also going to go to jiu-jitsu. That's what I'll do afterwards. My boy doesn't want to go to jiu-jitsu now. I kind of half expected that. So that gives me a lot more time this afternoon to crack on with some work, not trading stuff, but other stuff, and also to keep a close eye on the charts. Just arrived at the gym and really not feeling like this at all. Well, that was a great gym session. It just goes to show when you put something in the diary, stick to it, get it done, it feels great. So now, second part of the challenge today, off to jiu-jitsu. Well, good morning. It is day 147, Tuesday, 21st of January. And this morning, unfortunately, I'm experiencing technical problems with the computer. I run my Trade Navigator platform on Parallels, which is a Windows product, because I run my computer's a Mac. And basically, having done the morning market analysis and completed it, had a problem with Parallels, had a problem updating some stuff in Trade Navigator. I think that's created the problem in Parallels, and now I can't log in. So very, very frustrating indeed, but technical problems sometimes happen. This morning, looking at the news overnight and seeing price action, Japanese yen has attracted bids. This is based on the monetary policy statement that was issued last night or overnight. Japanese seem to be a bit more bullish on their economy than maybe they have been in recent times, which has attracted bids, I think, into Japanese yen. Who knows? But that's my interpretation of what's happened. Doesn't really matter what the reason is. It's what the outcome is in price action. So it's put a bit of pressure on my Australian dollar, Japanese yen long, my intraday trade, but it doesn't matter. It stops at entry on that trade. So that's a trade that can't lose, aside from the broker fees. Entered a short on US dollar, Swiss franc this morning. I was short in that pair a few days ago, got stopped out on a trailing stop, made some money. But I'm short again on a slightly different strategy, a backbone strategy this morning. So we'll see where that transpires. So I've got 3 intraday trades on, US dollar, Swiss franc, short, euro, US dollar, short. Interesting, those pairs go the opposite way on the dollar. And also Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Sig1 trades are still in play, under some pressure, but hey-ho, that's the name of the game. Very, very, very frustrating. But after a restart, we look to be back in business, although the computer seems to be doing a multitude of updates. But I just got to wait patiently and wait to get back in. Finally back in business after 3 restarts. Got parallels running, got windows running, got the whole show running again. Albeit there is a problem on my trade navigator. Oh, hello, Maxie. There surprised me there. There is a problem on my trade navigator account, but I need to talk to them later. One of the charts is not displaying data, but anyway, let's have a quick look at that US dollar Swiss franc short backbone strategy that I set up this morning. So here we go. This trade here, and that's people cutting trees or something in the background. Sorry about that noise. The 50 simple moving average is tracking down on the daily trend line. The daily trend line, effectively we made a lower low there. Now coming off that 50 simple moving average. The S signal was the entry candle. I got in slightly late, but there's every chance that we'll move down to that target. So this is my second attempt at US dollar Swiss franc. Made money on the first trade, but was stopped out on the reverse. So this is my opportunity to get in again. So it's about 11:30, and yeah, not much has happened this morning. I am now at jiu-jitsu. Got here quite early to get a parking space. Just waiting for the class to open up in about half an hour. So just sitting, chilling out, and waiting to get going. This is my daily, or when I can, daily kind of mental break from the currency markets, and helps me reframe and see things clearly when I get back home after training. Well, good morning. It is day 148, Wednesday morning, around about 8 o'clock. Up this morning for the morning market analysis. Quite a lot's happened. Australian dollar, US dollar has moved into bearish territory, which on my Mag 7 indicator has opened up a number of different opportunities, one of which I've just got into this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on and see how that's progressed. But in the interim, got to take the kids to school. In you get. Is it? Good. In you get. So it's around about 8:15 on Wednesday evening, and today, to be honest, time has completely got away from me. I meant to do a bit of an update in the charts after I'd taken the kids to school this morning, but got waylaid with some other stuff. So I'm going to do a very, very quick rundown now as to the intraday trades that I'm in, talk about a couple of things, and then sign off for this evening and be back in the game tomorrow. So the first thing to say is it is good to see New Zealand dollar CAD looking to make fresh bids today. This is the weekly charts, and majority of this is fueled by Bank of Canada news today, which has meant a weakening of the Canadian dollar pretty much across the board. Now, what's interesting about this pair is that despite maybe some of the negative news on Australasian, South Pacific, whatever currencies, New Zealand dollar against CAD has kind of traded sideways. It stayed above its 10 exponential moving average, and now on Canadian dollar weakness is looking to make a fresh push up through the 50 simple moving average. So very interesting to see where we end on this pair by the end of the week. Into the intraday pairs, this is my euro couldn't say it then, euro US dollar short on a trend strategy. At the moment everything's fine. The exponential moving average averages the 10 and the 30 are inside the 50, which is below the 200. So on the 240 chart we're in good shape, and that's supported by where we find ourselves on the daily chart as well, with price closing below the 50 simple moving average. In fact, let's quickly look at that. There we go. Price closed strongly, tested and then closed strongly below the 50 simple moving average yesterday, and it's held there today. So I think there's more downside potential down into this level, which interestingly corresponds with a 1.1000 even handle. US dollar Swiss franc. This is on a backbone strategy, so the 50 simple moving average basically tracking the daily trend line down. Always arbitrary when you draw a trend line, but this trade has got a lot going for it. For one of the things, it's got the IG sentiment index. I take a contrarian view. This is an S star in terms of my system, which means that over 70% of the retail traders are bid for this pair, which means I'm short. And so far that seems to be playing off. Bit of a head fake above the 50 simple moving average, but if we were to close below on the 10 p.m. candle, below the 50 simple moving average on the 240 chart, that will be in good shape, hopefully, to track down further tomorrow. Then finally, what a roller coaster ride this has been. This is Australian dollar CAD. I'm long in my SIG1 strategy. And today I entered a short position on a full house strategy. Basically all of the simple moving averages and the daily 10 exponential moving average pointing to a southerly direction for this pair. Upside is capped by the 0.9000 handle. And I got short, and initially right there, price moved in my favor, but then news out of Canada, Bank of Canada, basically appeared to weaken this pair. This wasn't Australian dollar strength, this was Canadian dollar weakness, but failed to close above the 50 simple moving average. So not too worried about this pair. I'm long on the SIG1 strategy. I'm short on the intraday 240 strategy with the full house strategy. So these two positions at the moment are effectively hedged. And until the market picks its ultimate direction, I'll stay hedged. I'll be stopped out of one of those trades, or maybe not one of those trades. Maybe I'll get a move down to my target here on the intraday, and then a bounce back up for my SIG1 strategy, or a combination thereof. So yeah, jury's still out on this pair, but took the signal on the intraday, opposite direction to my long position, and that's absolutely fine, providing the signal shows up and providing that the signal is clear, and I take the signal in line with my rules. So good morning, Thursday morning, day 149, and what a difference a day makes. Yesterday and overnight, Canadian dollar weakened, Australian dollar strengthened. Australian dollar principally off employment news overnight, which was better than expected. And as a result, my Australian dollar CAD position, both SIG1 and intraday, has made some interesting moves, which I'll put on screen in a moment. But intraday now under pressure, took a third of that position off. And the SIG1 longer term weekly strategy is now back in profits. So what you lose on the roundabouts, you gain on the swings. I'm slightly more leveraged on my SIG1 trade, so if that pair moves north, that's good for me. I'll take a loss, a smaller loss on the intraday strategy, but hopefully the SIG1 strategy will pay me handsomely and cover that loss, which is what trading really is all about. New Zealand dollar strengthened yesterday as well, so my highly leveraged New Zealand dollar CAD SIG1 position closed back above the daily simple moving averages, so is now trading above the 50 and 200 simple moving average, which tells its own story. Yeah, that's where we are. I've got a busy morning, got a couple of calls I need to make now, meeting a friend at the gym and for a coffee, and then I'm off to jiu-jitsu. Still pretty foggy outside, really foggy yesterday. Yeah, another busy day, or not so busy day, depending on what the market does, but I'll be monitoring my positions and lightening up when necessary, or hopefully taking profit when targets are hit. One final thing to say, just in this segment of the video, a few comments on YouTube, people who are watching the channel, thank you if you watch the channel. If you're watching the channel and haven't subscribed, please do so. You can do that by clicking the link below this video, or please feel free to share the channel with people you think may be interested. A call out from a couple of people, thank you for your comments, to say, well, okay, this is a challenge, a financial challenge ultimately, where are you with the challenge? And there's reasons that I haven't updated on that in the last few weeks, but what I'll do before this video is out, I'll do a wrap up probably over the weekend, and with full transparency show where my trading accounts are, yeah, show you the position of the accounts and where I've got to on the challenge so far. So here is that Australian dollar CAD trade. Australian dollar strengthened, CAD weakened as a result. Boom. This is traded on strong bids above the 50 simple moving average, and is just clustering at the 200 simple moving average on the 240 chart. What I did here at 6 o'clock this morning, I lightened up on a third of the position, and at 10 o'clock it's very likely I'll be lightening up on the second third if the 10 exponential moving average, the orange line, closes above the 50 simple moving average, which is looking very likely. So the idea is that when I'm wrong, I get out quickly, I cut my losses, and I have a system to do that. And when I'm right, I have a system to stay in the trades as long as possible. So what I lose here on this trade, I will hopefully gain on my SIG1 trade, weekly trade, which is now back in profit. Well, it is Friday afternoon, around about 5 to 4. Busy morning. Was down in the jewellery quarter in Birmingham this morning, running a few little errands. Back at the ranch now, and first time really since the morning market analysis to jump into the charts and to see what's been happening. So Euro US dollar wending its way to the bottom of the daily trend channel, down to initial target. US Swiss franc short, yeah, consolidating under a bit of pressure. This is the backbone strategy. Unless we get over the middle candle here, which corresponds to my 50% line, 50% to stop, then I'll hold this position. The IG sentiment index is S star, which means that the majority of retail traders are long, which means I need to be short. So we're still under the 200 simple moving average on the 240. So I think we're in good shape still to hold this position to see if we can get down to this target level here. On the weekly chart, New Zealand dollar CAD testing the 50 simple moving average from underneath again. Likely now, given the fact that it's after 5 o'clock UK time, nearly 6 o'clock UK time, likely will close above the 50 this week, but good to see the bids back in control of this pair. This is my highly leveraged position. And then Australian dollar CAD on the weekly chart here, trapped between my SIG1 long and my intraday short. So yeah, this pair can't really make up its mind, but I'll have to wait till next week to see which way it's going to break, if it does indeed break. We're kind of in a consolidation here on the weekly, but there's a lot of pips in that consolidation. It's got to break at some point. Whichever way it breaks, I'm going to look to capitalize and minimize the loss on the other side of the equation. Finally, pound Australian dollar. This was a short trade I took on the Z candle a couple of weeks ago now. In fact, last week, no, 2 weeks ago now. Looks like the 3-year high is holding, but we'll see where this closes. But for the moment, nothing to do on this pair. Looking for that break to the south. Well, good morning. It is Sunday morning, bright and early. It's not even 9 o'clock. Here to take the kids ice skating, just park the car. So I promised I would give a bit of an update as to where I am on the challenge, in terms of the numbers, etc, etc, etc. So I'm going to do that very quickly now. I summarized the kind of charts where we got to towards the end of the week on Friday. The bars hadn't closed, but we were pretty much there. So that's all taken care of. So just a quick overview as to where we are. So basically, if I look at the challenge since its inception at the middle of last year, it's been a very bumpy road. There's been ups, downs, ups, downs. What I found on the intraday trades and the intraday strategies that I'm using, I'll win one, I'll lose one, I'll win one, I'll lose one, then I'll maybe have a run of losses, maybe a couple of wins. it's been very, very frustrating. What I found is that the high probability of the time, when I set a trade on my 240 charts using one of the strategies, trend, full house, or the new backbone strategy, what will happen is price will move very close to my target and then reverse, or it'll hit my target and reverse. But there's been very few trades that have carried through, where I've been able to leverage the position, build a or pyramid into a bigger position, and make some decent money on those trades. So they've been very frustrating, which is one of the reasons I introduced the SIG1 strategy towards the end of last year. A SIG1 strategy, trade on a weekly chart. I buy or sell off a 3, 5 or 10-year high or low. Those strategies have been better, or seem to be better, possibly to do with the higher time frames, but pretty much all of those strategies that I've traded, you take some heat on them because it's less precise. The entry that you make is going to be less precise, but you have more scope for error, which means you have more scope for pain in the trade before potential gain in the trade. I have one trade on at the moment, which has a profit, not a locked-in profit, but a current profit of about £3,500, which is New Zealand dollar CAD. That is fully leveraged, so I have 3 positions in that. We are just trading underneath some significant simple moving averages, looking for that breakthrough on the weekly. And then if that trade continues, then that could be very, very good news. And if you read the trading books, I've read lots of them, what it will tell you is that you win some, you lose some, you win some, you lose some. And what you're looking for is 1 trade, 2 trades, 3 trades every 6 months, every year, that really make your 6 months or make your year. And with that in mind, where I am in terms of my numbers, I'm in drawdown mode. Every trader goes through drawdown. I'm currently in drawdown. I hadn't expected to be in drawdown for this long, but I am in drawdown. That's where I am. And the options are to give up or to carry on, and I'm carrying on. My risk parameters are in place. I've just had I've had a very bad spell in terms of my short trades throughout November and December. Basically, all of my trades, November, December, I didn't have a winning trade on the short side, and that cost me. So while the long account is doing reasonably well, or by comparison doing reasonably well, the short account has been hit quite hard. So what that means is, on the long account, I have a 14% drawdown currently. On the short account, that's approaching 50%. I think it's 45, 46, 47, 48, 49%, which means overall, I'm in drawdown to the tune of about 30% currently, which is not great. So in terms of the target, I'm absolutely miles off. But in terms of the challenge, I'm still early in the challenge, and I'm going to continue with the challenge. Because the challenge is a challenge. You don't just give up because you've hit a hurdle, even though it's quite a big hurdle. If that drawdown was 70-80%, I've got very, very little chance of recovery. The fact that it's 30% means that I've got a really good chance of recovery. And if I look at my drawdown parameters, what I'm prepared to tolerate each month, I'm prepared to tolerate each month a 20% drawdown from opening capital. So if you factor in those 2 losing months, November, December, I'm below what would be a 40% drawdown at 30%, and I'm battling back. So, I'm not going to make excuses. It is what it is. What's changed to improve things moving forwards? Well, I've got my Mag 7 strategy now. Well, it's not a strategy, but it's a tool that I use. Basically what Mag 7 does, it looks at the major pairs and considers the direction, the trend of the major pairs, and then that influences which cross pairs, which synthetic pairs I can trade. So I look at any cross pair as a combination of major pairs. So if there's a bear, let's say there's I'm going to get this wrong now, but let's say there's one of the major pairs, let's say Australian dollar, US dollar, and US dollar, Japanese yen. If they're moving in opposite directions, one's bullish, one's bearish, well, that probably means that Australian dollar, Japanese yen as a synthetic pair is a trade that I should be looking at. So that would be a signal potentially there. So if the major pairs are moving in different directions, US dollar, Japanese yen in my example, Australian dollar, US dollar, then Australian dollar, Japanese yen is going to be a signal under my Mag 7 to trade. What I've noticed from my short trade experience, if I look back at the difficulties that have got me into this drawdown position, I was over trading. So in those months, November and December, I was over trading. So making too many trades, taking too many signals. This Mag 7 filter, if you like, is designed to keep me out of trades and only to get me in the very best trades where there's a higher probability, because the majors are moving in the right way, that the synthetic crosspair will also move in the right way. So I promised the update. It's not the greatest news, but it is the news, and I'm going to continue to battle on with the challenge, continue to focus. And, you know, on the positive side, if this New Zealand dollar CAD trade actually performs and breaks through this weekly simple moving average to the north side and continues to go, that will more than cover the 30% drawdown and put me into significant profits. So yeah, we'll see what happens on that, but if that happens, that will be very good news. But who knows? What I'm trying to do with my trades all the time, even with the intraday trades, is to get myself into a position that I can ride a long-term trend and add to that trend. Not quite made it yet, which is one of the reasons I am where I am. But New Zealand dollar CAD might be the one. If not, there will be another trade coming along. So with that said, I'm going to go and watch the kids down the road do their ice skating and get set for another week to begin. Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.